The official kickoff of the college football season is upon us, and I'm going to tell you what I've been telling you for the past 22 years here at this site. No matter the sport, no matter the season, it is the only time we have the advantage over the odds makers. This week, next week, a little bit in week number 3, but then rest assured the tables will once again turn and it'll all even out. And why do we have the advantage? If you haven't heard me preach to the choir before, I'm going to tell you once more, because the odds makers are clueless at this point of the season. They don't know what to expect from the teams any more than we do. And consequently, the lines are ultimately softest this week, next week, a little bit in week number 3, because all they have to go on is what you and I have read coming out of fall camp, coming out of summer camp, coming out of practices leading up into these opening games of the season, where generally you have the big bad teams playing the little sisters of the poor. Yes, you'll have the marquee games, and I'll talk about them in just a moment, but that's why these numbers are the softest. Hi, everyone. Al DeMarco here, General Manager of DeMarcoSports.com, and this is going to be your Saturday video report. I've got 4 complimentary plays coming up for you in just a moment. Amplifying on what I just said to you a moment ago, let me also remind you that you will also find more blowouts in these first 2 weeks when the big bad teams are playing the little sisters of the poor, and you'll see these big numbers. Don't be afraid to bet those big chalks, because again, the numbers are smaller than they should be, and you will see generally, more often than not, those big chalks covering. Now, before I go any further, let's conduct a little business here. As you know, General Manager, DeMarcoSports.com. What I like doing at this point of the season is a bonus for all of you that have been throughout the baseball season betting, the die-hard gamblers, the guys who realize that you build your football bankroll by betting in baseball, giving you the single biggest discount of the entire season, 30% off your entire purchase. It's the single biggest discount of the entire year. It is available right now, 30%, simply by using the coupon code 30%, 30PERCENT. It's a mix and match coupon that's good for any combination of picks and or packages. The only stipulation is you've got to put everything in your shopping cart at one time. I do it once a year. I do it right now to reward all of you who have been here at the site through April, May, June, July, August, when a lot of customers just hang up their shingle and say, hey, I'm going fishing right after March Madness or after the NBA playoffs, and they're not around. So I like to reward you for your loyalty with the single biggest discount of the entire season, before so many other customers come back to start betting the NFL a week from now. There will be a significant discount coupon then as well, but it won't be 30%. So again, 30% off your total purchase price simply by using that coupon. Should you have any questions, you can, of course, always contact customer service. Now, one other thing I want to discuss with you. In years gone by, you would see the list of your games on your betting schedule. You would see extra games. You would see add-on games. You don't see that anymore. And there's a reason for that, because of the proliferation of sports books now making it legal to bet in, I think it's 37, 38 states plus the District of Columbia. And because of the 2 big sports books, I'm not going to name them. You could figure it out yourself. If they were paying me, I would certainly give them all the free advertising they need. Paid advertising, should I put it that way, if they were putting money in my pocket. If they're not, screw them. But those 2 big sports books have a 67% market share here in the US. They together are available to place legal wagers in 26 states plus the District of Columbia. Consequently, now you will see so many more games with lines between big schools and FCS opponents, FBS versus FCS. So you no longer see the delineation between teams on a big board, Division I teams, FBS versus FBS, add-on games, extra games. That's why you see handicappers here at the site releasing those type of games. That's why you're going to see me talking about some of these games as this season progresses. And in fact, one of them coming up here in your report too. The other thing that I think you have to be aware of from a betting perspective is, especially early in the season, don't try to split hairs. Thursday through Monday, and we've had some of those games already being played, 96 games on the board. So there's some great TV games, some great games. Clemson and Georgia, UNLV Houston. Okay, not a great game, but an interesting game, right? Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Penn State, West Virginia, Fresno State, Michigan, perhaps, Colorado State and Texas. These are games that are made for TV battles, perhaps some of them you may not be sure which way to go. So again, why split hairs? I've always maintained that the way to make money in college football and college basketball on big cards is to concentrate the most where the odds makers are concentrating the least. You will find value. You will find exceptional games where the lines are absolutely off. After you handicap the card, you narrow it down, and sometimes betting the marquee games, not the way to go. Great games to watch, not necessarily to bet. So I've given you my Bible here at the beginning of the year. Let's get to your complimentary plays. And one of the first ones I want to talk about is going to be one of those games where you've got a FBS team taking on an FCS team, and that's Tennessee against Tennessee Chattanooga. Now, Tennessee is a 38.5 point favorite. You can bet it at those two big sports books and a number of other ones as well. And years gone by, Danny the bookie probably wouldn't have offered that game to me, okay? 38.5 points. Lay it. Do you think the Volunteers aren't going to cover that game in Rocky Top? I don't think so. Their head coach is 4-1 against the spread the past 2 years when the line is 30 plus points, correct? And here's the thing you've got a new quarterback, of course, making his first regular season start. By the way, you've got a team here that really doesn't have any time to, how we want to say, get up to par. Because when you think about it, Tennessee's schedule is just mind-boggling. This is a team that has to prep for next Saturday's game in Charlotte against NC State. And then week number 4, they play at Oklahoma. Week number 6, they're at Arkansas. Week number 7, they're home against Florida. Week number 8, they're home against Alabama. Yeah, that offense better get cranking because remember last year, it was a down season for the Volunteers offense. So who's going to be the sacrificial lamb? It's the Mocs. Now, the Mocs were preseason favorite to win the Southern Conference, but keep in mind, last year they were a damn good team. In their regular season finale, they went to Alabama and Tuscaloosa. The Tide ripped them 66-10 as a 44.5 point favorite. So, despite the fact that they're considered the number one team in the Southern Conference this year in the preseason coaches poll, I think it's going to be a blowout here, and I would lay the points with Tennessee in this contest. Another game that I like today, and I'm giving you these in the order that I like them, would be Syracuse. New coach at home, only an 18 point favorite against Ohio. Keep this in mind. The Ohio team that you're going to see today is just a shell of the Ohio team that was so successful a year ago. This team suffered such losses in terms of personnel, and the players that came in terms of the portal and in the recruiting class, very, very weak. The replacements are just not up to snuff. In fact, Ohio only has 6 starters back from that 10-3 team from a year ago that went 6-2 in the MAC. Chief among the losses, the MAC Player of the Year, their quarterback, Curtis Rourke, who of course transferred to Indiana. They lost their top 2 running backs, their top 7 receivers, top 4 tacklers, yada, yada, yada. Syracuse, a team that has, as I said, brand new head coach, also a brand new quarterback, Kyle McCord, who transferred from Ohio State. All he did with the Buckeyes last year, 24 touchdown passes, 66% completions, joining a team that already had 18 starters back as well, including their 1,000-yard running back. I think that this 18 point price is damn cheap. And remember, this is another team that I think has to hit the ground running, especially since they take on Georgia Tech next week. So I like Syracuse in that one. I'm going to go with James Madison here, minus 8.5 points at Charlotte. And this is going to dovetail into my next play as well. Now, you know the deal with James Madison. Of course, their head coach left. I'm sorry, James Madison, their head coach, left, took the job at Indiana, took half of numerous top players with him. But James Madison went and I think made a very smart hire. They hired Bob Chesney, the Holy Cross head coach, who in 5 years with the Crusaders went 44-21. So he takes over a team that still has a lot of talent from last year's 11-2 squad. He brought in his defensive coordinator, Dean Kennedy, from Holy Cross. He is a guy, I'm sorry, his offensive coordinator, a guy who ran the ball a little over 66% of the time with Holy Cross a year ago. They went out and they got in the transfer portal Dylan Morris from Washington, who 3 years ago was the Husky starting quarterback before the arrival of Michael Penix Jr. He's going to be their starting quarterback. They also went out, and because they have probably going to have a more run-oriented attack than they had the past couple of years, they went out and got a running back from North Texas. God help me if I can pronounce his last name, but this guy ran for over 1,000 yards last year. In fact, he didn't become a starter until week number 6. He averaged 7.1 yards per carry, nearly 4 yards per carry after contact. They have an experienced offensive line. This is going to be a team that may not be quite as successful as a year ago, but is still going to be damn good. Now, Charlotte, according to their head coach, has lost 8 to 9 projected starters because of injuries coming into this game. They only had 12 starters coming back from a team that was 3-9 a year ago, a team that is 1-10 in its last 11 home games straight up against FBS foes. Okay, I just think this is a great spot to go against Charlotte, a team who offensively only averaged 17.5 points a year ago. Yes, they went out and they got the quarterback from Florida to take over their offense, whose name, Max Brown, I think it is, from Florida. I, I'm still just not that impressed. This is a team that 8 of their 9 losses a year ago happened by over 14 points. And you've got James Madison, an 8.5 point favorite. That number has actually come down a little bit. So I like JMU in this spot. Now, your final complimentary play is going to be Indiana. Where did James Madison's head coach leave the Dukes for? For Bloomington. It's Kurt Signetti, who left James Madison to take on a huge rebuilding job in Bloomington with the Hoosiers. Now, Indiana is probably going to be bottom of the barrel in the Big Ten. But they're hosting a Florida international team that's gone 4-8 each of the past 2 years and has allowed almost 32 points on average each of the past 4 years, playing in the Conference USA. I think this is a great spot to take Indiana because who is Indiana's new quarterback? The guy I mentioned earlier, Curtis Rourke, who, remember, 2 years ago had a great year, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions for a while. And James Madison, a lot of their top offensive and defensive players followed their head coach to Indiana. 21.5 points. I think this is a huge, huge game for the Hoosiers to come out and really set a new example for a new regime to get off on a positive footing and really get the Hoosier faithful involved and re-energized in this program. And I think FIU, they're going to be the ones who get victimized today. 21.5 points, big number, but that's why they're their 4th complimentary play today. So again, in order, Tennessee, Syracuse, James Madison, and Indiana. That'll do it, guys. Good luck, everybody. And once again, talk to you again here next weekend when we do this once more. And remember, if you have not yet taken advantage of the 2-day free all access pass, where you can get all the plays of all the handicappers at the site for free with no risk, no obligation, and you pick the 2 days. You can get today, meaning Saturday, and any other day, your choice. Check it out over at DeMarcoSports.com. The only way you lose is if you don't take advantage. It's absolutely free offer if you've never done so before. Again, you get all the plays of all the handicappers for free. And I've done this for the last 22 years because one, I can do whatever hell I want because I run the sites. And two, I think there is no better opportunity for you to get a taste of how the handicappers present their plays, their analysis behind it. It's not like they're flipping a coin and saying, hey, I like this team because they're wearing white socks with stripes today. But it gives you an idea of how the guys go about making their plays and also seeing whether they can win, and you get all their plays for free for 2 days, and you pick the days. So check it out, the 2-day free all access pass over at DeMarcoSports.com. Good luck, everybody, and talk to you again soon.